Black Sash, in partnership with the London School of Economics, Stellenbosch University Law Clinic and the National Financial Ombud Scheme of South Africa, has launched the Collaborations to Curb Indebtedness report. The report seeks to highlight the issue of indebtedness, particularly those who are most vulnerable, and some of the interventions that can be made to empower such communities, especially women who tend to get into financial difficulties as they try to fend for their families. Well, to unpack some of the key findings of the report and possible solutions, I'm joined by Amanda Rinquest. She's Education and Training Manager at Black Sash. Thank you so much for joining us. So your report focused a great deal on social grant recipients who already rely on a very small sum of money to survive. What were your key findings in terms of the level of indebtedness among grant recipients and the extent to which they're exposed to informal lenders or mashonisas?
Yes, thank you so much for having us. And yes, the report conducted training with community leaders over 3 years with 240 leaders. And then the community leaders also did case studies for us. And we also interviewed community members and grant recipients. And what we found was that there is no way that the child support grant of 550 Rand and other grants are able to cover people's needs. And as a result, naturally, as many people do, people have needed to take out loans to supplement their income, not to, do anything extravagant, but to feed themselves. You can't feed a child on 550 Rand a month. And so what we've seen is that because people have for so long been outside of the formal lending practices, people can't get a loan on their social grant. The formal banking system excludes them. And people have therefore had to go to their neighbors and their neighbor lenders, often the mashonisas. And these are not people who are necessarily predatory in their thinking. They're also trying to create a business. But what we've seen is that grant recipients are particularly vulnerable to high levels of interest rates on their loans, far more than the National Credit Act allows, because they cannot access formal loans. They have to access informal lending from mashonisas who are able to, who do charge whatever they want to up to 50%, we've seen.
So in your research, were you able to gather some of the reasons why grant recipients feel the need to borrow money from elsewhere?
Yes, so there's the social issue of, all of us, when we want to borrow money, our first thought is not necessarily the bank. It's our sister, our father, our brother, and sometimes our neighbor in the instance of community members. So community members are trying to borrow from people they have a relationship. That's the first reason. Then the second reason is because they do not qualify in the formal lending system. And we're not saying that the solution is necessarily to make sure that all grant recipients can get loans, but we need to find a way to stop this missing middle. There's this gap where people can go through the regulated system of going to banks or creditors, but there's this unregulated system where so many people, not just grant recipients, but other people are using mashonisas who are not registered. There's no enforcement laws against them, and this has dire consequences for communities and for people. We need to tackle this missing middle, and we need to tackle it collaboratively.
Indeed. So, of course, you referred to the program that you set up where you're training community members in the area of, financial literacy, both theoretical and practical. How impactful has this been? Do you have a situation where communities gather and this wisdom is imparted and shared?
So, yes, so all the community advice officers we've trained have been given books and tools, and we have an animation series on the Black Sash website that also explains to people some of the basics around court orders, etc., and reckless lending. So we give people the tools and to take it to their community. And what we have found when we reevaluated people, so brought them back after 6 months or a year after the training, is that one, people have either done community trainings on debt and credit with their community, or two, used what they've learned in the paralegal manual, also available on our website, to conduct mediation sessions between mashonisas and whoever their client is. And this mediation, we have found, has been essential, especially in the absence of regulation. We found that community leaders, community councillors, advice officers collaborating and doing mediation has been fundamental for communities in peace building.
Last thing, because we're limited on time, but of course in your proposals you talk about obviously community working, but also at a higher level, government level, you're talking about better intervention there, better collaboration between government departments. Just quickly speak to that for us.
Yes, this is fundamental. We must have a government of national unity between the Department of Trade and Industry and the Department of Social Development. Department of Social Development has been fixed on protecting people's grants, rightfully so. No loans, no debit orders, etc. Whereas the Department of Trade and Industry has been saying people are free to trade, they have a constitutional right to get loans, etc. And what we need to do is find that those two departments speak to each other so that we have some level of protection for the most vulnerable people in our society. We have to find a way to protect grant beneficiaries from getting over indebted, but also grant beneficiaries from able to access to meet emergency needs. We all have a funeral in the family we suddenly have to cater for. There are issues that happen and we need to find a balance, and those two departments as well as the Department of Home Affairs needs to step in, because it's often people's IDs that are taken away from Mashanisa. So we have to have some state intervention at that level, the National Credit Regulator involved, all the ombudsmen involved. We need to have a big process of working together to see how we tackle these gaps in the law.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Amanda, for giving us some insights into your report. That was Amanda Rinquest. She's Education and Training Manager at Black Sash.